Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We had our first Pioneer PTQ happen. We have got top 8 deck lists to review. Jake, are you excited as I am?
Dude, this format is wide open. I want to see what the first impressions are. We have a ton of decks that are getting played on MTGO.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's time to take a look at what happened with the first Pro Tour.
From Pro Tour qualifier. From a selfish standpoint, I am very excited to see which of our sleeper picks have shown up in decks. Real quick before we get into the decks, if you wouldn't mind hitting like, hitting subscribe on the video down there. It really helps us out.
Yeah, just go down there, push a button. If you're logged in, if you're here to just kind of sit back and relax, do that too. Just
relax. Otherwise, click a button. Let's look at this deck. Nexus Fog won the PTQ, Jake. Look at this.
Bro.
We got Cyclonic Rift. We got 4 Dig Through Time. Huge surprise. We got Growth Spiral. Wild, that a recent common is making a statement. We got Nexus of Fate. We got Thing in the Ice as a one-of. This looks like a brutal deck.
Well, what's really funny about this deck to me is that the only fog effect I'm seeing are the 4 fog.
Right.
What am I missing here?
No. What you're missing
is
it
Nexus just that brutal?
Nexus
it's just
of
that
Fate.
Brutal.
You are missing Nexus of Fate plus Wilderness Reclamation. That's what you're missing.
This is something I would have never called right out the gate, and that's what I love about this format, is like a fog deck took it down. Nexus of Fate, a card that was absolutely brutal in Standard, it ended up getting banned in Best of 1 on Arena. This is so spicy, and it's so silly. It's exciting.
Notable that 4 Fabled Passage are in the 23 lands in this deck. This card is good, surprise, and it is going to continue to go up.
Yeah, it's the fetch land of Pioneer.
Right.
And it enables so many 3-color strategies.
Hey, by the way, look at that 3 Blast Zone. Real big fan of that.
Yeah, that's a really cool card as well, and these are the kind of things, this Ratchet Bomb type effect.
Exactly. It's the Ratchet Bomb of Pioneer. Fabled Passage is the search land
Bomb is in Pioneer. That's the thing, is you get to double up, and putting an effect like this on a land is honestly really a big deal to me. And I knew this card was going to be good. I did buy a couple play sets of these right out the gate, not in response to Pioneer, but in response to War of the Spark being announced and after the spoiler. But yeah, this is a cool deck.
Next up, we're moving on to the number 2 deck, which was Devotion to Green. Look, I have to say, as somebody who bought many copies of Leyline of Abundance at a very cheap price, Leyline of Abundance. Leyline of Abundance.
What's neat about it is that if you get it in your opening hand, it's 2 right off the rip toward your Devotion.
Exactly.
So it's
right.
It's like a great auto include. Obviously, we see Elvish Mystic and Llanowar Elves, which are both, just gonna profit so much off of this. And Nissa, who shakes the world, I'm not surprised.
Let's talk about Oath of Nissa for a second, Jake.
Jeez. I mean, I guess we can. And this is so funny because this is like the biggest bailout ever. But like these are just like seriously play sets of Oath of Nissas that I bought when War of the Spark came out, and I was like,
oh yeah,
dude, War of the Spark, trust me, dude. In modern, dude,
it's gonna be
there's
dope.
gonna be a deck. There's gonna be a deck that wants Oath of Nissa, and you just wait, and like I'm scrolling through, and now I'm like, thank you so much, Pioneer, for getting me out of that terrible spec. Because the card like plummeted, it went right back down to like $1.
Oh yeah, but look, we're up to $4.99 paper on TCG Player.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna definitely unload those cards, but it is interesting how Pioneer really wants this card, and you'll see in a lot of the green decks, Oath of Nissa is totally a card.
There's a big discussion right now online on Reddit, and we're gonna go to Reddit for some comments in just a second, after we discuss the deck lists. But we've got Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, and we've got Leyline of Abundance. People, as they do, are already calling for bans. And the big argument is, should we ban Leyline of Abundance or should we ban Nykthos Shrine to Nyx?
Well, I'm just going to comment on this because I'm looking at the top 8 decks right now, and I realize that matchups are a thing, but just because something does well in a tournament doesn't mean that we need to immediately ban it. There's one freaking Devotion to Green deck here in the top 8. So I think anybody who's doing any kind of real analysis, they're just going to overlook those kind of comments, and I really hope they do, because the format needs some time to breathe. And just because if something exists doesn't mean that it's... If these were all Devotion to Green decks, I'd be like, yeah, get that shit out of here.
Right.
Something was overlooked.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. In your tied for 3rd and 4th spot, we've got the Copycat deck, we've got Felidar Guardian, plus Saheeli Rai. There she is, and there that is.
And look at what else is in there. In Copycat. In other spells. 3rd down.
Other spells, 3rd down. 4 copies of Oath of Nissa.
Bro. I'm just at this point... here's my argument for Oath of Nissa and why I don't think it's going to get a ban.
I don't think you need an argument, Jake. I don't think you need an argument for Oath of Nissa anymore.
No, it's an argument for... No, listen, it's an argument for not banning it. Because obviously it's good. Yeah. And the thing is in Modern... There's a card called Ancient Stirrings that's played in Tron. Everybody knows it. Sure. If you know Tron, you know Ancient Stirrings. And it digs for 5. So, this is even more tame than that. Ancient Stirrings hasn't been banned despite people saying how busted it is. So, there's no way that Oath of Nissa is going anywhere. It's a great green card, but it's very fair. And it's really cool. And, there's no reason it would go anywhere.
It's very cool, said the guy sitting on 100 copies of it. Look at Oko Thief of Crowns. Look at Oko Thief of Crowns being a 2-of in this deck. Hello, Oko.
Yeah, it's just just play all the colors. Do whatever you want.
Look at 3-cost Teferi being a 4-of in this deck.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. The card is a huge tempo play.
Right.
It's honestly, it's like Reflector Mage with other abilities.
Exactly.
So it's... Yeah,
it's also interesting to me that we got Attune with Aether in that deck list. Let's bump to the other tied for 3rd and 4th deck list, which was the Kathas combo deck. We got 4 Mox Amber in this deck. Hell yeah!
And 4 Oath of Nissa.
Yep.
That's just gonna be what I call this videos. We're just gonna call it Oath of Nissa. But again, this is cool. I'm excited that a combo deck built around Kathas, let's go ahead and click on Kathas so that we can talk about it, because that's the big engine here.
Yeah.
Exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard until end of turn. Each legendary card in your graveyard gates, you may play this card. So there's a lot going on here with Kathas and Lazav, and it's just
Emery, Diligent Excavator. I mean, the combo is there. You got Hope of Girapur, which, if you've been watching our series on Pioneer Sleepers, popped up in the discussion around that card. We've got Terrarian, which is a common. Once Upon a Time, which is a recent rare.
I mean, Once Upon a Time is it's just so good. There's so much going on here that's really neat. And if anything, looking at these top 8, it just becomes clear to me that we have a pretty good meta. There isn't one deck that came out and just dominated. Obviously, we do see 2 Arclight Phoenix, and we're about to look at Arclight coming up here.
And we obviously see Oath of Nissa as a 4-of in very, very powerful decks.
Anything with green. Yep.
Yeah, anything with green. It seems like it's got to be played. Moving on from that, we got Arclight Phoenix. It is, Jake, I want to just go back to our original video where we were analyzing the mythics from this set. We were so low on Arclight, and I cannot believe how wrong we frickin' were.
Yeah, and it's hindsight is 2020, man. Wow. And you look back at it and you go, Wow, how did I miss that? This works well with Faithless Looting and Cathartic Reunion and all these cards. Like, in this instance, Chart of Course,
Yeah.
Is it Charm? There's just so many good graveyard strategies, and you're like, oh, well, if you've cast 3 or more instant or sorceries, that's just so much. But really, it isn't.
It's really not. It really is not. It's a deck that had viability in Standard. It's a deck that has had viability in Modern, and obviously it's going to be a viable deck in Pioneer.
Exactly.
Looking at the lands, we don't see Mana Confluence. It's a 2-color deck, so
yeah, there's no reason. Yeah,
there's no reason for it. We do see 4 Thing in the Ice, and honestly, I've seen Thing in the Ice pop up so much in these Pioneer deck lists.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the other big threat that's played in Modern Phoenix before the Faithless ban and before people got really low on that deck. Right. Thing in the Ice is no card to shake a stick at. This card is really good. There's a reason it holds such a high price point.
Yeah, another card I've seen a lot of is Wild Slash as we move
this
over
card's
to
good.
The mono green ramp deck. Hey, look at this. 4 of Once Upon a Time. 4 of Walking Ballista. We don't see your lovely card in here, but we do see a 1 of Ulamog as far as mono green ramp goes.
Yeah, I don't think that this deck needs Oath of Nissa, and then we'll move on past Oath of Nissa, but it is really neat to see a Golos deck showing up in Pioneer. I think Golos is one of those cards that kind of got a bad rep because of Standard. It's just a little bit too busted. This is a format where it's going to be throttled back a little bit. Am I surprised that Ugin made it into a Pioneer deck? Absolutely not. Walking Ballista? Absolutely not. Ugin or Ulamog? Honestly, no. These are all like really good cards, and I think this deck is just like, hey, we're profiting off of ramp. But again,
it's interesting to me that Spyglass is making it into sideboards, but I think that's probably in response to Oko. Here's another Arclight list. We've got 4 Thing. We've got 1 Merchant of the Veil. Hello, Merchant of the Veil.
Well, click on the other one because I'm pretty sure the other one is running 2 merchants, yes?
Really? Yeah, let's jump back over here real fast. It is very interesting to me that a common from Eldraine would be making it into the... Oh yeah, wow, look at that.
Well, it's because this is the discount Faithless Looting. This is the card that it's not a lot. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. It honestly is
4 Treasure Cruise in both decks. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, I think Treasure Cruise is one of the cards that if I had to guess, Treasure Cruise would be highly suspect for a ban. I think it's just too good. It's just too good, especially in strategies where you're able to fill your graveyard up quickly. It's essentially just an ancestral recall, man. It's
absolutely
just so good.
I really like that this deck is, and it now I feel like I have to go back and look at the other deck, but Lightning Axe plus Fiery Temper, that's a dope combo.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that that's the kind of stuff that's getting played around with.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last deck that pops up in our top 8 is Copycat. And this is a deck that, I mean, lots of eyes rolled, lots of fears absolutely answered. But what's cool to me is that we are running 2 Reflector Mage, 1 Brazen Borrower. We're looking at 1 Once Upon a Time. Obviously, 4 Oath of Nissa, which makes you very happy. Yeah. We've got 4 Oko. This is the only deck in the top 8 that's running 4 copies of Oko main deck. We've got 4 Saheeli Rai, obviously. We got 4 copies of 3-cost Teferi,
Teferi is another card. Let's talk about it while we're on it. Yep. I think that Teferi is one of those cards that it's a feels bad card. It's one of those kind of cards where you're just kind of like, great, I'm playing against Teferi. It shuts down your instant speed interaction. It's the kind of card
which is
that
the
enables...
biggest. I mean, with Magic, that's the thing that sets it apart from other TCGs, from other CCGs, is instant speed interaction, and answers as we go. And what Teferi does is just say, nope, not going to happen. Sorry. And so it feels bad.
It turns off a very important part of the game. And it's a card that I actually really like. I think that, you know, it's definitely becoming definitely a huge presence in Modern. It's kind of like a format warping card in Standard. I'm surprised that it hasn't eaten a Standard ban. But, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's you know, it's not super surprising to see a Copycat deck up in the top 8. We already have, what do we have? Two Copycat decks.
Two Copycat decks.
Two Arclight Phoenix. We got two mono greens. So something's got to happen there. And then we got one Nexus Fog. And honestly, from everything that we saw from people that either watched the tournament or were participating in the tournament, that the Nexus Fog deck just felt bad. And so maybe that's the one that bans lie with. When we go over to our spikes, we see a lot of responses to the deck lists themselves. Lots of Oko, lots of Copycat. 15 out of the top 32 had at least 2 Oko main board. The Nexus deck looked disgusting. Looking at...
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking deeper down, Oko is actually not that good because right now the format is very linear. You know, it's Kathas combo and straight up just like curve, you can't beat me. You know, right now Nykthos, like I said, is up for discussion as far as ban goes. It's interesting if that Leyline gets the ban. A lot of people disagree that Leyline is where it lands. I mean, where do you land on this?
I think the format is just so young that you really need to give it time to breathe. You need to give people an opportunity to test it more. The announcement itself is so recent, and now we've had barely any tournaments. So
right.
For me, I think that Saheeli and the cat, I think you just ban the cat because that's going to be the kind of thing that we just see as like an ever-present kind of thing. But, you know, as far as like devotion goes and that whole kind of strategy, I want to see if there's something that can happen to, I don't know, to counter that deck. I don't think that coming out of the gate and just being like, well, people are outraged about this card and it needs to go. And
right.
People are outraged on this card and it needs to go. It's like, just don't go on Twitter where everybody's yelling about stuff.
You're exactly
and
right.
Just let it kind of like simmer, let it marinate. See if in the next tournament, is it the same shit that's winning? And then go from there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's right now, we don't have a control deck here. This is all combo and linear decks. So
right. And there's no mid-range.
Exactly.
There's like no mid-range either.
Yeah, at least in the top 8, the top 32 had some mid-range decks, but there's no true aggro. There's no control. It's a brand new budding format, and that's really where I think we should leave this. We appreciate y'all watching. Let us know what you think of the very first top 8 we get out of Pioneer. I mean, there's a lot to be seen in this. There's a lot of finance implications. There's a lot of ban implications. And that's the kind of thing we look for. We appreciate y'all watching.
Drop a comment, and while you're down there, click like or subscribe.
Or dislike if you didn't like the video. We don't care what button you click. Just click a button if you're logged in. If you're not logged in, just relax and enjoy. If you want to support us further, we've got a Patreon. The description has the link. If you want to see us even more play some Magic live, we're streaming on Twitch twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Other than that, Jake, I am tapped out. You got anything else?
Dude, I am. I'm just hanging out, man. I got this lint roller over here, because.
Here we go.
Sometimes you gotta.
I've got this. It's a gold and a silver Sharpie for signing Patreon cards. Hello.
And by this point, nobody's watching the video.
Yeah, nobody at all. We'll catch you later. Bye.